Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. So good to be back today. We've got so much to talk about, but we'll be back in a minute to tell you exactly what you need to know today.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.
Yes. And like Sasha, my cat, always said and always demonstrated, please ring that bell. Support this broadcast in any way you can. Become a subscriber or a member, and there's ways to do that in the description below. We just thank you for watching today, and we thank you for continuing to be so supportive. And I wanted to mention, these shirts are really doing well. We've got these shirts, and there's also we got Big Red, Chris Barber's truck, and think while it's still legal. These shirts have been doing very well. You can get them in black, white, gray, and as a hoodie. And the prices are there. Please order one. And I decided not to wear it today. I probably should have, but just wanted to mention this again because they are selling and the people are interested. So thank you for being interested in our shirts. We don't have a lot of merchandise yet. You know, hopefully we'll get some coffee cups up there too. But right now it's just the t-shirts and the hoodies. But they're doing very well. And thank you for those of you who have ordered. And I'll tell you this: the transparency on here, the decal is very high quality because we did try more than one company. We tried the first company; it was not going to work for us because it was not the quality that we demanded. Found the right company when I talked to my friends at Redacted, and these are good shirts, quality. I'm not gonna sell anything that's less than finest quality. So these are good. Anyway, don't want to dwell too much on the merchandise when there's so much to talk about on this Sunday. So where is Justin Trudeau? In Ukraine, giving away your money. So get this, eh? Financial support for Ukraine will continue, says Finance Minister. We know that is really important. Canadian aid is $3.12 billion to date, says Chrystia Freeland. And of course, Chrystia Freeland is very connected to Ukraine. Yeah, she had a grandfather who was Ukrainian. He was also pro-Nazi. He was a Nazi. He was a Nazi propagandist. And of course, Chrystia Freeland has been associated with the neo-Nazi battalions in Ukraine. She's been very supportive of these basically revitalized Waffen-SS battalions that are fighting the Russians, which is so important to dear Chrystia. You know, and it's funny too, because I don't know if you saw the interview. We showed you parts of it with Tucker Carlson when he was in Canada. And he said Chrystia Freeland is the feminine or the female face of fascism. And she is. She is. She doesn't, you don't say something that she approves of, she comes after you. She freezes your bank account or she sends the police after you. So what is happening in Ukraine? I mean, it is just absolutely outrageous. Billions. And what's coming now? It is the Prime Minister has announced this kind of funding. Up to 39 million in development assistance to provide access to essential mental health services. Wouldn't it be nice if people in Canada had access to essential mental health services, especially with Trudeau as Prime Minister, when people's mental health is more affected than ever. 22 million in humanitarian assistance, 1.8 million in peace, security, and stabilization assistance. We just gave them 800 drones last week, too, you know. Yes, and the list goes on. Let's have a look at this. This is the most recent announcement. As part of this commitment, Canada will provide $3.02 billion in critical financial and military support to Ukraine in 2024. So here's the most current material. In addition, the Prime Minister announced new support for Ukraine's resilience and recovery efforts. This includes $75 million in peace and security assistance, which includes demining, cyber support, and intelligence support. $15 million in preservation assistance, specifically supporting the completion of the National Museum of the Holodomor genocide in Kiev. Yes, the famine, the artificial famine in Ukraine, that in also parts of Russia. It wasn't just Ukraine that was affected by the artificial famine created by Stalin. That was a horrible, horrible thing. But why in hell are we creating a museum at this point? Ukraine is supposedly fighting tooth and nail at war. I think that money would be better spent on a cemetery. Now, I'm not trying to be funny either, because clearly this war is about putting Ukrainians on the battlefield as cannon fodder and having them blown up in this war. Ukraine is not going to win this war. It's impossible for Ukraine to win this war. Ukraine was never going to win this war. And this war was really about what was going on in the Donbass region of Ukraine, where those parts of Ukraine want to be part of Russia. Justin Trudeau wants to call that misinformation, disinformation, because he doesn't know anything about this war. He hasn't got a clue in hell what this war is about. Or he really thinks NATO should be on Russia's doorstep. Or does he think about it at all? Does he know that Volodymyr Zelenskyy is not just a clown like Trudeau? He's an international clown. He makes a fool of himself all over the world with his hands outstretched for more money. Does he know that Zelensky's corrupt? That he has yachts and chalets around the world? And that he's going to be running out of the Ukraine as soon as the Russians occupy Kiev? Does he know or does he care? Does he know that Ukraine is not a democracy? That it's an oligarchy ruled by oligarchs who are skimming billions of dollars off of the billions of dollars of aid they're getting from NATO countries? Does Trudeau know or care? Do you care? Of course you do. But Trudeau doesn't know any of this. All he can do is read his script, his talking points, and say, oh, Zelenskyy is like a modern day Churchill. This war is about freedom. This war is about sustaining democracy. And of course, it's not. It has nothing to do with sustaining democracy. Justin Trudeau doesn't ever talk about that. So while we're giving away billions to Ukraine, here's an interesting point. This is from Blacklock's reporter, which has always got some great tidbits that the mainstream media never gets to cover or wants to cover. But Blacklock's reporter reports that Cabinet quietly okayed an order from Chrysler Freeland to borrow and spend $77 billion more than originally forecast by March 31st. Why did she need that extra money? Obviously, to give it away in large bundles to Ukraine. Now that is a travesty That is an absolute trap. We're giving more money to this corrupt regime so the oligarchs can put it in their Swiss bank accounts and prepare to flee the country when the war is over. And the war will be over within the next 3 to 6 months. And Ukraine is going to lose. So all of this money that we're flowing into the black hole of Kiev will be gone. It will be stolen by Ukraine's corrupt oligarchs, Ukraine's corrupt government. Something Justin Trudeau never wants to talk about because he thinks, or he wants you to think, this is a war to sustain democracy. And where have we heard that one before? They're all wars to make the world safe for democracy, aren't they? And the only people who are feeling safer in this process are the arms manufacturers who are making billions of dollars off of this process. This war has to end soon, and it will end soon. And it will not end happily for Ukraine or for Canada, which is giving billions of dollars to a very, very dubious cause. But that's where we stand. So meanwhile, while Trudeau is over in Ukraine, glad-handing with his fellow clown, Zelenskyy, what's happening in Canada? Well, looky here. It's from the National Post. Yesterday's paper, Saturday, February 24th. Look what's going on in Canada. Well, we're giving billions of dollars to build museums in Ukraine. We've got tent cities rising up all across Canada because our housing situation is abominable, thanks in large part to Trudeau's immigration levels. Thanks in large part because Trudeau's regulations have destroyed the housing market. Thanks in a large part to Trudeau's inflation, Trudeau's interest rates. So people are living in tents. And right now, it's not as cold as it usually is here in Ottawa at this time of the year. My computer's telling me it's about 36 degrees Fahrenheit. I got it on Fahrenheit just to bug Trudeau. So it's about, what, 2 to 3 degrees Celsius? That's a lot warmer than it usually is. But that temperature can plummet to minus 20 overnight. And there are parts of Canada where it is minus 20. Hey, don't worry, though. Just buy a heat pump for your tent city, and it's all going to be better. So we're going to get to a video in a second here, and the Italian Prime Minister is with Justin Trudeau. The two of them really don't get along. But what's going on with Italy standing in line with Canada saying, let's support Ukraine? Well, Italy wants other European countries to support Ukraine because Italy doesn't want to spend their money on Ukraine. And that's really, really what it comes down to. So, and have a look at this. Yeah. So Canada is clearly trying to get up as one of the best in terms of who's giving money to Ukraine. And that is, so we are throwing money away at an alarming rate, but we want to do better, according to Justin Trudeau, or worse in reality. So we are one of the top donors, but we want to be one of the top 3 or 4 donors. And that's Justin's plan. And once again, this is money not well spent. It's money going into a black hole. And anybody who is objective about the news in Ukraine will tell you that. Let's get to this video here because it's classic. It is absolutely classic. This is Justin Trudeau standing with the Prime Minister of Italy and Zelenskyy.
You are fighting to preserve the norms and rules that the whole world agreed to 80 years ago. Rules born out of the ashes of the Second World War, a war that tore apart the countries now led by the leaders standing with me.
All right. There's Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She's about to collapse on her speaking podium because Justin Trudeau doesn't have a clue in hell. He doesn't know his elbow from his ass at the best of times, but he doesn't have a clue. Who was fighting whom during the Second World War? You will remember this is the same jackass, the same idiot, the same moron who led a standing ovation for a former Waffen SS member because he was Ukrainian and he fought the Russians in the Second World War. Meaning he was on the side of the Germans. He was a member of a Waffen SS military unit. Yes, Yaroslav Hunka. The very, very famous Yaroslav Hunka. He was fighting the Russians in the Second World War too. Well, guess who was also fighting the Russians in the Second World War? The Italians. Yes, under Benito Mussolini. They were the part of the Axis until late 1943. They were allied to Nazi Germany. And in fact, when Hitler invaded the Soviet Union on June 22nd, 1941, in Operation Barbarossa, he took Italian troops with him. And Italian troops were outside Stalingrad when that city fell. And the Germans were unsuccessful in continuing to occupy Stalingrad. So Giorgio is having a moment there as Justin once again demonstrates his profound and comprehensive ignorance of world events and history. Yes, she says more by saying nothing.
Earlier today that Canada would do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to help Ukraine. But as this war enters its third year, we're seeing countries, including people in Canada, start to wane a little bit in terms of this public support for continuing to fund a war like this.
I'm going to be there with you as long as it takes, with everything it takes.
What do you say to people back at home who might have those concerns?
We have seen the impact of Russian misinformation and disinformation in countries all around the world, with the rise of a far right that is turning its back on Ukraine, turning its back on the international rules-based order, turning its back on democracies. Canadians still remain overwhelmingly in favor, not just of Ukraine, but of the rules-based order.
All right. What in the hell is far right? Does Trudeau even know what he's talking about? Does he have a definition of far right? Why is it far right to oppose the war in Ukraine? Why is it far right to say we shouldn't be giving billions of dollars to a corrupt, non-democratic regime? Why is it far right to say this war has to end? Why is it Russian disinformation or misinformation to say that Ukraine is going to lose this war? Anyone with half a brain can tell you Ukraine is going to lose this war. There's no way they can win this war. And that NATO should not be on Russia's doorstep. NATO should not be continually expanding. NATO doesn't have a raison d'etre anymore. It doesn't have a mission statement that it makes any sense. It doesn't have a reason to be anymore. But are you going to hear that from Justin Trudeau? No, it's all Russian misinformation, disinformation. And Canada is not going to put up with this much.
Fortunate over the past number of weeks that we saw the Conservative Party vote against the economic measures for Ukraine that would come with the modernized free trade deal.
All right. Hats off to Maxime Bernier, my friend, and somebody I always take the time to applaud because he's always doing and saying good things. Maxime points out that Poilievre is not against the war in Ukraine. He wants to give them more money. He opposed this stupid free trade agreement because it had a climate change clause. It had a carbon tax in it, which was good, but it didn't have any effect on giving more money to Ukraine. And we still have a free trade agreement with this country, although the free trade agreement is going to collapse along with Ukraine when the country surrenders in this war. So it's really nonsensical to even negotiate a renewed free trade agreement. But the point Maxime is making here, he will always stand with Ukraine. I will always stand with Canada first, Maxime says. And Poilievre's on the wrong side of history with this. He has been marching in lockstep with Justin Trudeau all along and is afraid to say anything except that we stand with Ukraine, just like Justin Trudeau. We stand with this corrupt Zelenskyy regime. We stand with these oligarchs and their Swiss bank accounts. We stand with Ukrainian corruption. We stand with Ukrainian non-democracy, authoritarian government. So don't give me this crap. You're right, Maxime. Sorry, we're just getting back to this here. So,
but we are certain that despite that faltering, Canadians still remain expecting their government to do everything that's necessary for Ukraine. And that's why, for example, we just signed a 10-year security assurance deal with Ukraine that features over $3 billion in aid directed this year. This is
10-year security agreement with a country that's not going to be in its current form over the next 10 years. This is just absolute nonsense.
Something that demonstrates the depth of our commitment and will continue to.
The extent to which any opposition in Russia is either marginalized or, quite frankly, executed. What happened to Alexei Navalny demonstrates that for all that Putin pretends to be strong, he's actually a coward.
Okay, so much to unpack here. Navalny was not executed by Putin or by anybody in Russia. He apparently died of natural causes. Navalny was not a great champion of democracy. He was a white supremacist. Sounded like a neo-Nazi at times. Not the sort of people that Justin Trudeau supposedly supports. And Justin Trudeau's got the audacity to talk about Putin as a coward. He is the real coward. And watch the hypocrisy as Trudeau explains why Putin is a coward.
To execute one's political opponents, to quash dissent by using police and military.
Hey, stand down! Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Look what you did! Look what you did to her! Look what you did to her! Look what you did to her! You trampled on a lady who is inaccessible!
So, Justin Trudeau, if you use the police and the full power of the state to crush your political opposition, you're a coward. Well, you're that coward because you used the police and the full power of the state when you invoke the Emergencies Act to crush the Freedom Convoy and protesters, when you froze their bank accounts, when you jailed them, when you politically persecuted them. You're the coward, Justin Trudeau. You just described yourself. What a hypocrite. How dense can anybody be? But this blowhard, this blockhead Trudeau, can't get this figured out at all. Yeah, you all recall those images from the Freedom Convoy. That's the police crushing Trudeau's opposition. There they are carrying away protesters. Yes, and I saw protesters beaten up. There's Chris Barber and Tamara Leach being taken away.
To make sure there is no opposition is the mark of a weakling, not a mark of someone who is confident in his own position.
There's the weakling. Yeah, There's the weakling. Are you astounded that Justin Trudeau just can't get it right? That Justin Trudeau can't see himself in the descriptions he gives of what constitutes a political coward, what constitutes a political weakling? Well, Justin Trudeau constitutes those things because he's an authoritarian. He is a dictator. He will do whatever he needs to do to crush his political opposition. And what is coming this week is going to be even worse because the Online Harms Act is being introduced. It was going to be the Online Safety Act because, we have talked about it so much that Justin Trudeau has decided to change the name of it, rebrand it, and pretend it's all about protecting children and making sure child pornography is not online. That's going to be the new emphasis, not what the bill is really about, and that's banning disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation that this government won't even bother to define. But that's coming this week. We'll be reporting on that tomorrow. We're going to find out what is in this bill exactly and how it's going to be used to silence the opposition parties and the media that's not in Justin Trudeau's pocket, including this one and the other media out there like myself and the new media that I also work for. Justin Trudeau has tried to buy the media off, to put them in his pocket with subsidies. And he's going to be using further legislation to censor and silence the media voices he doesn't like or agree with. So that's coming next. But while he's up to that, he's going to continue to give your money away to Ukraine to keep a war going that is quite senseless at this point. We need to stop the war. We need to stop the censorship. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being a part of this movement, of this desire to resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And thanks for watching again today. And please, if you have a minute, please watch this brief message at the end. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard and being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the Krayden resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there, and it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the KRAYDEN'S Right resistance, and we'll see you again soon.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need to resolve